And we're live for our 10th LD Town Hall. Thank you everyone for joining, and today's topic is around marketing. So we're going to cover a number of diverse topics today and get your feedback on how we can make LD a better organization. We're going to be talking today about Web3ification of LD, thinking about what's happening with DAOs and what's happening with decentralized networks. And since we're not experts in that, getting some of your feedback on how we can make LD a more decentralized organization, thinking about things like peer review of projects, but also peer review of admission into our networks, making it a less centralized organization. We'll also be talking about referral strategies. So how can we get people to refer more people to LD, both as talent and also as clients? And what are ways we can develop well-designed referral links to help LD become a better, have a better K factor. And then we are recruiting for a CMO role. So we want to hire a chief marketing officer to help LD improve its marketing presence, since what we're finding is that when we do reach out, we get good traction. People are coming in as clients and they're converting and becoming effective clients. People are coming in as talent and they're joining the network and getting decent work. And so how do we sort of scale up? We need to increase our marketing endeavor. Finally, we'll be talking about different things that are in demand, what skills are in demand, and what talent is in high supply, and ways that we can visualize that to encourage talent to gain the skills that are in demand, and also improve our marketing efforts so we reach out to clients that are looking for the skills that we actually have in supply. And so with that said, I'd love to start off our meeting with a quote. And this quote is by Charles Darwin. It says, "I love fools' experiments. I am always making them." And so when we think about marketing, it's a series of experiments, and some of them don't work. Some seem foolish and some seem like they are going to work, and we don't know which is going to work and which is not going to work. So that's why we want to get feedback from our network itself in how we can do digital marketing more and more effectively. We have brought the network to the size of over 400 talent and almost 100 paying customers with the level of marketing that we've done, almost entirely organically. And Castro has actually been a big spearhead in that effort. He has helped reach out to thousands and thousands of potential clients and engineers and helped us grow this network considerably. So I just want to thank Castro for that work. And Castro, I know that you've probably heard a lot of feedback from many, many different people. So we just wanted to say we appreciate you for relaying that feedback to us throughout the year.
All right. Okay.
Did you have anything to say on the marketing experience for LD? Anything that we could learn from you based on your interactions with so many different people?
Pardon?
Did you have any suggestions for us on the marketing front for LD?
What I can say is that because I noticed we normally use Slack and the other platforms that we can venture into, like LinkedIn. I remember when we started, we were using LinkedIn, and at some point we stopped using LinkedIn. It would be a good idea to still look into LinkedIn, because I noticed there are so many engineers on LinkedIn who are looking for jobs. And I think there are also clients on LinkedIn who are looking for software engineers. So we can still do something with LinkedIn.
Yeah. I think your area is mainly in Slack organizations. For LinkedIn, we're using more browser automation type of technologies to reach out. But I think that it does make sense to double down on our LinkedIn efforts. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. And just like before we get into the main topics, just want to say that when I was, I'll share a little anecdote. When I was in high school, I was running for a student government position, the vice president of our high school. And one of the things I did for marketing was just plaster the campus with paper ads. I would put paper ads on every single teacher's room and on all the doors. And the person I was running against cleverly created a video and said, "At least I'm the one who thinks about the environment." Now, that was a very clever counter strategy. Unfortunately for that person, and fortunately for me, I that person did not win the election. And I did win the election, but it's very interesting to think about that person's feedback still, because it is possible to just plaster the whole internet with LD. And maybe that might work to an extent, but I think we can do things a little bit more smartly to optimize our conversion rates. So with less outreach, we get more effective business. And so I still learned from that experience. And so with that said, I wanted to essentially start to discuss our first topic. And I wanted to know if any of you have dabbled in the following themes: blockchain, decentralized organizations, Solidity, Ethereum, smart contracts, Web3, NFTs, tokens, metaverse, ICOs, anything like that. If any of you are even marginally interested in that sort of realm of things, just wanted to give a chance for you to speak, or if you've even heard of it. So the idea here is that right now, LD is a very centralized organization. And so we have our founding team, and some of them are on this call right now. And we are essentially running the organization and helping clients meet developers and get matches and such. But the problem with that is that as we scale, it's not sustainable for us to just be interviewing talent and having them join our network and essentially being this centralized system where we have a vetting process, we have an interview, you let people in, because eventually we want to have it more like the talent network itself has a certain quality about it. And members of our network who are more experienced are able to recruit members of our new members of our network and organically grow the network, regardless of individual personalities who are in the positions of, say, CEO or CPO or CTO or CMO or whatnot. So one of the things we were thinking about was just how recently there's been a rise of DAOs, decentralized organizations, autonomous organizations, and whether there's anything LD can learn from these organizations. But if for instance, in this call itself, we don't have the level of expertise in those topics, then we can move on to the next topic. But it was just an idea out there. And even though, so I just wanted to stop here and just check in if any of you had any sort of ideas on general decentralization of certain processes within LD, for instance, admission into the network. I'll wait for 10 seconds. Okay, so I'll share some of my ideas. So one of the things that I was thinking of beyond just admission in the network is this idea of peer review. So we do peer review for blog projects, but one of the things that we wanted to think about was just peer review of, in general, any sort of endeavor on LD. For instance, we could have people review other people's profile. So maybe if you haven't gotten matches with clients, a way to help people get matches is to get peer reviewed by people who have gotten client matches. And I was wondering if any of you had any sort of thoughts or feedback on that particular idea, having more experienced developers essentially comment on your profile and guide you towards getting more clients. So I will run another idea by you then. One of the things that we were thinking about was a mentor buddy system. So people who are new to LD, maybe one way to create more of a culture in our organization is to have every new talent that joins our network get matched with an experienced talent and a person who has worked on more projects before, so that that mentor buddy relationship essentially takes form. But what is really the incentive for a more experienced talent to essentially help the new talent? I'm not sure what the incentive is. So we would maybe even need to financially incentivize it as we have to do with many things on this network, but it's fine because That's part of our business model, is that we financially incentivize the learning. We financially incentivize a lot of behaviors, and it's important because if we're dealing with people who want to make a good living, then we want to make sure that everyone is compensated for their individual contributions. So thank you, Mohammed, for joining as well. And so those are some of the ideas in terms of decentralization. Also incorporating some of this decentralization, which is a really important theme right now, is that it would make our network more marketable. If we were formed more like a DAO, maybe, or at least a more Web3 type of network, we would be more marketable. We would be able to raise more money. We would be able to even instrument every action on the platform and recognize people for small things that they do. For instance, you have joined this town hall today. You would be recognized for that. Maybe you would get some sort of points in a point system for that. Every time you respond to Slack and help someone in some sort of way, you would get credit for that type of interaction. And so those are the things that we want to sort of encourage in terms of our network. Really track each of the different activities and recognize people for the granular things they do in our platform. So those are some of the ideas, but since we don't seem to have enough expertise in decentralization, maybe we will get expertise by some of the talent who watch the town hall after this and are able to contribute. In particular, there are some blockchain and Web3 developers in our network who should be able to comment on this. So the next thing I wanted to ask about was something that has come up with several clients, but even talent on our network. And they ask us, where's your referral link? And we don't actually have a referral link right now to present to talent or to clients. And one of the reasons we thought it's not necessary is just that if somebody refers a client to us, we keep track of every new client that comes into our system, and we essentially track where they come from, and we would compensate the person who referred us that client with LD free credit. For every talent that refers another talent, we track whether that talent becomes a member of our network and whether they become an earning member of our network, and then we pay those people. But one of the problems with that is that maybe the referral link itself, even if it's technically not required for the logistics of our business, might have a sort of design appeal, a appeal in that, oh, they have a really well-designed referral link, maybe I should refer someone. So I was wondering if any of you had any sort of thoughts on whether that idea seems like it gels with you, seems like it makes sense, or may not be necessary, having a referral link. And you can even react. If you don't feel comfortable talking, you could react with things like this or that. So I suppose that referral links, okay, so we got one thumbs up from Soumya. Thank you, Soumya, for that thumbs up. I appreciate that very much. And so we will work on referral links. The next role I wanted to talk about was the CMO role that we're recruiting for. So this is something to keep in mind in case you know somebody who is an appropriate candidate for this role. And so the CMO role, I don't know if you've noticed, but I have been managing the GitHub blog project process for Reviewal. And so all the projects that are reviewed on our platform are partly orchestrated by me, but we're getting to the point in the size of our network that we need somebody to manage the SEO, the writing quality. So this person needs to have impeccable English to be able to correct the grammar of different articles and the SEO friendliness of the articles. They need to be able to write on their own and spread LD across different social media and reach out to different incubators and funds to get LD listed as a resource. They would be replacing me in terms of sending emails or automated emails and writing templates for emails that go out to different organizations like the Y Combinators and the 500 Startups, which are the incubators that bring in the companies that actually ended up becoming our clients so far. Another responsibility of the CMO would be to manage the current set of marketing contractors. So some of you have been part of this process of writing articles that go on Quora, that go on Reddit, that spread the mission of LD, that spread the way we track work in granular ways, and that our transparent system and our future of work system, where we have these transparent Slack work sessions. The CMO would be able to manage those marketing contractors, fix their language, and be able to help them post across social media in a high quality way. Some of the other responsibilities of the CMO would be to think about influencers. How can we reach out to influencers, interview them, and create content on the LD platform? They would identify large companies and see whether LD could be listed as a resource by them, or even help us send emails that are customized to target those large companies, targeting certain particular roles, offering suggestions like, for instance, Jehoshaphat and Adeolua and Anisha would be an excellent fit for your position, linking to their profiles and then reaching out to those. They would manage the SEO of our organization, and they would also be very involved in the culture of our organization, doing customer support and whatnot. So this is the CMO role. It will be a full-time role. It will be paid a certain amount per day and per month. So it would be a full-time role, and it'll be a remote role. And we're looking for people in Asia or in Africa who will be able to fill this position. We're looking for one leader who can communicate well, who will be sort of like me on this call, being willing to get up on video and talk, and also being willing to market across social media and be part of the face of LD. So if you know anyone who would be a great fit for this role, just let us know, and we'd love to have your suggestions. So that is the CMO role that we're recruiting for. Okay, so thank you for keeping that in mind. And so then next, I'd like to share with you a certain discovery that we've had in terms of our talent supply and demand that influences our marketing. And so I'm going to share with you a visualization of the most requested skills and the supply of our talent. And so I'll share my screen now and show you what that looks like. So as you can see over here, you can see the most requested skills on our platform and also the most in supply skills. And so you could see that we have a good matchup in certain skills. Like for instance, React is in high supply and in the most demand. So we're doing well here. If we look at Python, it's in high supply and in high demand, high supply and high demand. But I don't know, I'll just stop here and let you stare at this for a second. Do any of you have any sort of comments or any sort of discoveries by looking at this? Any thoughts? So one of the things that I wanted to point out was that iOS app development is in high demand, but in fairly low supply compared to the demand. I mean, where does iOS show up in terms of supply? It shows up way down here. We don't have as many iOS developers as we do have requests for iOS developers. So that would be something we would be recruiting for on the supply side. So we would be reaching out to talent who have iOS experience, or encouraging talent to learn iOS development to meet that skill need. Another thing that comes up in pretty high supply, but not as much demand, are things like PHP. So PHP is pretty popular in many places around the world because of its prevalence in the past. But nowadays, it seems like PHP is still in demand, but a lot of companies are moving towards Node stacks and React and Node stacks, or even thinking about things like Vue and Node, or thinking about things like React. And we've seen Firebase, although Firebase is also reducing, and people are looking at more like microservices architectures with React even. That's what we've seen in high demand. One of the things that we notice here is that, and just chime in if any of you have any comments on this, sort of supply versus demand. One of the things that we see is pretty important is design ability. So either a UI engineer who has a large amount of experience in front-end development, but with some design sense, that's in very high demand right now. But also just straight up designers are in high demand, but in relatively lower supply in our network. So one of the things that we were wondering is actually, I mean, as you can see, we sort of have these lists and we're comparing across them, but maybe we could create a project, maybe build this out in D3 or React in D3, where we can visualize some of the supply and demand to give our talent more clear direction on what they should be learning, what they should be upskilling themselves, and also give our marketing team direction on what skills we should be recruiting for. So I was wondering if I could just get any of your feedback on what type of visualization might be appropriate for this kind of data. Or how could we use this data to advance our business? Cool. So at least you got a sort of sense of this, and maybe you could think offline about ways that we could use this data and develop some projects with this data. And so that is what I wanted to say about that. And one of the things that we wanted to ask about, if anyone has knowledge about IP rotation or about multiple domains sending emails, one of the things that we noticed from our data analysis is that when we send 100 emails, we will get one customer as a paying customer. And so we do have a conversion rate. In fact, it's more like 2. So our conversion rate from just literally sending an email, which is free, to becoming a paying customer is like 1 to 2%. And in fact, we find that when a person signs up on our site, so if they get the email and then they sign up on our site, and after they've signed up on our site, there's a 1/5 chance that they become a paying customer. If they try the free trial on our platform and try working with a talent, there's close to a 90% conversion rate. So we know our conversion rate's pretty well now. So meaning to say, if we send 20K emails, we should get 200 customers tomorrow. But why can't we send more emails? Well, one of the things with sending emails is the spam filter risks. So if we send too many emails, even if they're really high quality emails to relevant people, we still risk going into the spam filter. And so one of the things we wanted to look at is, how are other companies doing this? Well, we have a feeling like other companies use these technologies like IP rotation, using multiple domains, using services like SendGrid and MailChimp and whatnot, but we haven't quite been able to figure it out. Now, we are following the best practices of using unsubscribe links and whatnot, but we still don't know a perfect strategy. So if any of you or anyone you know or anyone watching this video afterwards has any sort of expertise in IP rotation, emailing, mass emailing, we would love your feedback, because we need to do that in terms of our marketing effort. We plan to use ads as well, but we also want to be doing some targeted cold email outreach, which is the way many of our customers have actually come to our network. It's literally by reaching out. We have a 5-fold process. So we reach out cold on email, we reach out on LinkedIn and whatnot. We also get listed by organizations like Y Combinator and StartX and other seed funds and incubators as a resource. We also have a reach out in terms of referrals and SEO. So we have that strategy as well. And so we have quite a few ways that we get customers that are working right now organically, and we are going to double down on that. In particular, the CMO that we hire is going to double down on that. But we want to make sure that we hear our talents' recommendations and thoughts in terms of how we can email more, but also email effectively, and also engage in some of the inorganic methods. So we are at the stage where we want to move from just organic to also paid ads, targeted paid ads on Google for URLs. Like we have a custom URL for React and Node developers. We would be able to target SEO search results for that. I'll paste in it. Yeah.
I know. I called you the other time. I know you went to go and watch ball.
What was that? I'm not sure if he's talking to me or. Are you talking to me?
Yes. Okay.
Polare Waju, are you talking to us?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, so he wasn't talking to us. Okay, well, that's fine. But this is kind of cool though, that we see everyone joining our network from their home. And that's one of the benefits of remote work, is that in the comfort of your home, you can sort of join this network, do the work as best as you can. And we encourage you to show your videos, since that, you know, has an element of professionalism, but at the same time, we understand that there's somewhat of a comfort in this remote work of being able to be in your home with your family, with your friends, with your children, and just also benefit from international salaries, international earnings, and such. No problem. It actually well segued into this spiel about the benefits of remote work. So now the next topic I wanted to ask about was, if any of you have had experience, and you can use the chat as well, if any of you have had experience with coding challenges or coding challenge platforms, Interviewing.io, HackerEarth, HackerRank, LeetCode, TripleByte, Pluralsight, TryHackMe, CodeChef, Kaggle, CoderByte, Frontend Mentor, TestGorilla. Okay, yeah, one of you with HackerRank, TestGorilla, TestDome, any of these or any others that you've heard of. I was wondering if some of you could say them out loud, or if you're not comfortable, just put them in the chat, and we'd love to hear about your experience with those, if you have any recommendations or suggestions or whatnot. So Somya says, LeetCode, HackerRank, Geek for Geeks, DevPost. Okay, so Geek for Geek was not in my list. DevPost was not in my list. And I was wondering if you had any sort of thoughts about them, which ones, were they good or not? And because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If we are going to do more coding challenges, we want to make sure that we just have people use the best of the existing resources. But what are they like? Any thoughts on those? Yeah. Adeoluwa, go ahead.
Yeah, for Dev Center, right? So I participated in this Facebook hackathon challenge, right? So you just build stuff, messenger bot, and well, it's been a long time. I think that was 2019 or so. So you just participate in this, and then you submit, and then that's it. So you actually have a lot of people doing the same challenge or the same hackathon alongside with you. So you have the duration when you're supposed to complete your project. I think that's pretty much it.
And did you like it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't win, right? But I think the challenge was worth it. I got to add more projects to my GitHub profile.
Okay. And what was the name of the platform again?
Dev Center. Sorry. DevPost.
DevPost.
Yep.
Is HackerRank the most popular of these?
I actually don't know. I've only used DevPost.
Okay. Somya said she loved HackerRank and LeetCode. One of the things we're thinking about is, just like we have the blog projects, if people sort of just, find challenges online on these different sites, make a short video snippet of them solving the problem, and post it on LD, then they can get paid, just like you get paid for the lifelong learning projects. That way we can also add those to the profiles. It improves our marketing. It also improves the vetting of our platform. Codility also is one of them. That was the idea. But we need a peer review process, right? Because we can't have it centralized where our CTO is reviewing those things. We need a peer review process so that we're able to have quality control while at the same time scaling. So that was the idea. If any of you have thoughts, feel free to share them. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about was SEO analytics. So I was wondering if any of you have experience with Ahrefs. And by the way, I'm bringing up a lot of tools right now in this call. So whether you're on the call right now or listening later, we are hiring for very specific things. So we want to make sure that we get the talent who are able to help our business grow. And so for instance, if you have experience with IP rotation or with mass emailing, you should let us know. The other thing is with SEO, we want to make sure that our analytics and SEO are leveraging the best tools. So for instance, right now we're trying to decide, should we use Ahrefs or should we use SEMrush? And should we use Hotjar, for instance, to get feedback? Should we use Mixpanel, Segment, Optimizely, Amplitude, Yesware integrations, Google Analytics, usertesting.com? I don't know if any of these tools have sort of come across any of your experiences. Have any of you heard of any of these tools? So yeah, go ahead, Adeolawa. If your hand's still up, or was it just up from last time? Maybe it's just up from last time. Okay, cool. So maybe I'll post some of those tools in the chat and you can think about it if you have any sort of suggestions on how LD can leverage some of these. So I'll post them in the chat. Now, the final thing that we were going to talk about was just as a talent network, we have a video that's facing the clients right now, but we don't have a talent facing video. And so we were wondering if we did create a talent facing video, for instance, many of our competitors have this kind of video where you show what are the benefits of joining our network. You can earn well and you can get access to clients, for instance, in the US, and you can work at startups out of YC and Techstars and whatnot, 500 startups. I was wondering what more you would be looking for in a video beyond just those things that are obvious as we design the talent-facing video. And if you don't want to talk, you can also paste in the chat. Yeah, so Somya says that the opportunity to learn and earn at the same time. I think that has worked to an extent so far. Funding the own startup ideas. Yeah, we do have a ventures wing where we are working on startup ideas. For instance, Jehoshaphat is starting something, has actually started something with us already, and we are funding that. One medium, I was wondering if we could get a poll here. If you could tell us whether you listen to podcasts, because we want to explore podcasts as a medium for marketing. So maybe just put in a reactive yes like that if you listen to podcasts, or a thumbs up. So we have Jehoshaphat. Okay, so it's around 1, 2, 3, and so, okay, so around 4. So it's, does Twitter Spaces count, Adeola? I don't know. I'm not sure. Mohammed Rajab. So I guess it's almost half. So almost half, meaning maybe we could explore podcasts as a platform. And I think our clientele will also, so we can remove the yeses now. But I think our clientele will also be those who listen to podcasts. A lot of startup people listen to podcasts. So we could consider creating a podcast if it is effective, if we have unique content. I think some of the unique content is in just how we manage the development process, the software development process with those work sessions and such. One of the things we wanted to make clear was just the quality of our talent on the profiles. So in terms of marketing, we're saying, oh, we recommend inviting Castro and Adeoluwa and Bijita and Somya on to your project. And then the clients will invite them. And then, but when they see those profiles, right now, sometimes the clients, when they're hiring internationally, they don't know whether they'll be able to communicate across different geographies and whatnot. And so one of the things we were considering is, should we include or an optional video where a developer or a designer introduces themselves in a 1 minute or 30-second video saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, these are my interests, these are the industries I'm interested in, this is what I code in or design in, and this is my personality, so that the client will feel more comfortable and trusting in essentially inviting that person and going forward with the experience. It'll also help with our marketing. So just taking a pulse check. Maybe an interesting question to ask is, if it was optional and we had a stat of this improves your likelihood of getting a client by, say, 50%, how many of you would do it and how many of you would not do it? So you can put a no or a yes or whatnot on your screen to see. And be honest here. So I will take, okay, so we have around a little less than half as well. So yeah, Somya is reacting, oh my gosh, so maybe Castro would do it. So there is some support, around half of the people will do it. So Jennifer, all we're saying is that if you had an ability to upload a video of yourself introducing yourself to the potential client who visits your profile, would you do that? And so we are getting some interest. Maybe we can make it optional and include the statistics about how much that'll improve your profile. The final thing we wanted to talk about today was the idea of crawling different websites where we might find the email addresses and other contact information of relevant talent to our network. So why should people join our network? For the lifelong learning incentives, for the access to clients, for the vetting and such, and the community. But where are potential talent? On Stack Overflow, on GitHub, and we're thinking about crawling those websites, crawling the code, trying to use AST parsers to understand the code of different GitHub profiles. Essentially crawl a GitHub profile, understand, oh, how legit is this person's GitHub profile? Have they done some complex logic? Have they coded original content, running it by a plagiarism checker, and then sort of reaching out to people who have interesting code on GitHub and sending them an email. And I was wondering if this sort of web scraping plus AST parsing project is of interest. Do you think it's worth it? You think it's too complicated, or you think it could have promise in our marketing outreach? So who thinks that it's crawling GitHub and Stack Overflow is too complicated? So yes for too complicated. Okay, so we don't have too much criticism on the complicated end. Who thinks that it's who thinks that crawling these who thinks that actually parsing the GitHub profiles is possible to do technically? So it is possible to sort of crawl through the code base of public GitHub profiles, run an AST, basically get the AST of each of the files of code that they've written, and then analyze those for interesting attributes. Who thinks it's possible? So we're not sure is what I'm getting on this. So it's something we are going to experiment with. Okay. Well, those are all the topics for today. And that's about it that I had. Today, it was good that we got through a lot of topics. What was bad is that we didn't get that much participation, but that's okay. Maybe we'll get more participation next time. Last time we had a lot of participation, so it varies by the month. But I think that I've conveyed a lot of information to the network through this town hall. So I'm hoping that many of you will come back to me expressing interest in some of these projects that we are hiring for in terms of improving the marketing of our network and helping decentralize our network and make it a more effective network to get more clients towards more of the talent. And so thank you for participating in this marketing discussion. And unless there's anyone else who wants to say anything, I will conclude this meeting. All right, well, bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Nice seeing everyone.